Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another episode on my Ellinesscrafts channel, which is predominantly about my knitting and crocheting experiences, as well as sometimes a little bit of cross stitch, which I'm learning. I'm also a beginner to crochet, so I'm learning that as well, self-taught. Anyway, for those of you that are joining me for the first time, welcome. I do hope you will enjoy this episode and subscribe if you haven't already. And give me a like if you enjoy this episode. If you're not aware, I am on social media. I'm particularly on Instagram and Ravelry, where my usernames are Ellinesscrafts. So you can find me on all social media as Ellinesscrafts. For those of you that are returning, thank you so much for coming back. It's lovely to see you again. So, I have a few finished objects this time around, not a whole heap, but I have been working on smaller things. Well, I say that, but I've been working on bigger things as well. So let me start with the socks that I've been working on. And just get my sock blockers handy. So let's go into finished objects. First up, I have these Sundown Soon socks, I'm calling them. The yarn is by Woolly Mama Yarns. I love her yarns. She's based in the UK and her shop is on Etsy. And this yarn is called Sundown Soon, and it's a merino nylon 75-25 base that she used for this, and it is lovely. Look at the way it pulled here. I love the way it pulled, and ooh, I still have some left, which I think I'm going to use in a hat because I think it will pull really nicely. So that's what it looks like in the yarn. And oh, I could show you the label actually. That's Woolly Mama Yarns. So yeah, I'm always buying her yarns. I love them. I love the colourway she comes up with. And so the pattern I used for this was Sugar Frost socks by Marianne Heikkinen. I hope I've said that correctly. Let me just show you them on the blocker. I don't think I had much trouble with these socks, to be fair. These are smaller. Oop. These are for somebody else. So just get them on the blockers and show you. This very easy pattern to follow, I found. I really enjoyed doing it. I was interested in the heel flap. So that's what they look like on the blockers. So the heel flap is just a normal stocking stitch flap there. Not like the usual that I tend to do, which is like the slip stitch heel. So that was interesting. The toe is an ordinary wedge toe, I think. Oh no, it wasn't. No, the toe wasn't a wedge toe. The toe was kind of like a partially wedge toe, and then you do like a, what do you call it? You pull through stitches at the end. So it's very like that. It's a kind of rounded-ish toe. This is unusual. I've never done a toe like this before, and I actually quite like the way it looks, the way it turned out. Hopefully the recipient will find it comfortable to wear. The only thing I found about this project, these socks, is that because of the yarn I chose, it doesn't show up the pattern very well, and it's such a pretty pattern, the Sugar Frost sock pattern. So I would like to do it again, but with a lighter coloured yarn, maybe not a self-striping yarn, but something a little bit more just variegated or plain, because it doesn't show up the pattern at all. It kind of, the colourway just kind of takes the attention away from the pattern. So in hindsight, I would do that differently next time. But I really do love the way they worked up, and I do hope that my aunt will love them too. I don't think I made any variations to these. Barn toe, that's what they're called, barn toe decreases. I figured that one out on the internet. I use my ordinary 9-inch circulars, which I like to use for my socks. 9-inch circulars, 2.25 millimeters, which is a US size 1, I think. Yep, US size 1. And the pattern was pretty easy to memorize. So I would say this is a great pattern to do if you guys are interested in that. But obviously you can't actually see the pattern, unfortunately. So I think I'm going to have to make another pair. Like this, but with a less kind of colourful yarn. So that's my first finished object. Next up I have some gloves. I decided to make some fingerless gloves to go with the brioche hat that I made, the first brioche hat that I made. And these are Kim's Socotta fingerless gloves. And they are by Kimberly Fairchild. And this is what my ones turned out like. Now, I liked doing the fingerless gloves. I wanted to do fingerless gloves because one, my aunt actually wanted, she kept talking about fingerless gloves, and hopefully she's not watching the video, but she had mentioned that she would like a pair of fingerless gloves, and I thought since I'd done her the hat in this colourway, the brioche one, I thought she would like the gloves to go with it. And so I've done these. What did I find? With these, I knit these up on, oh, it doesn't say what, I didn't actually put a note of what size needles, but I think they were 2.25s because that's what I like to use for these kind of size thing. The yarn is Thousand Islands On, which is an Fleece Artist Merino slim yarn. So these are fingering weight gloves. So let me put one on. My cast off was a little tight around the thumb, and I think probably because I just didn't loosely do that. Everywhere else feels okay. I feel like the ribbing for here could have been a little bit tighter, so perhaps change the needle size for the rib and then do a bigger size for the hand. The other problem I have with these is, yeah, actually both thumbs are quite tight, so I think my cast off was too tight, and I don't think that's the pattern. I think that's my cast off, so I need to change that. Yeah, the fingers are kind of curling over. I guess that's just part of doing it in stocking stitch and not doing rib on the top. And it feels kind of like, there's where my finger starts. That's like the, how do you call it? The divider. That's the base of my little finger is all the way down here. So I have to pull the gloves down. The fact that the pattern is made so that all of the fingers are at the same height kind of makes the material not sit right. I hope I'm explaining that clearly enough. It doesn't sit right because this finger is the same height as all the others, so there's a bit of a gap here that it doesn't, the gloves don't sit comfortably enough for me. I mean, I'm not going to alter it because I've done it now. It was very tricky to do the fingers because I had to then, after doing the whole body in on 9-inch circulars, then I had to go on and use DPNs, double pointed needles, to do the fingers because there was just not enough stitches obviously to do them, and it was very tricky doing each finger. And what I found with these, they're okay. I think they're functional, they can be used, there's not a problem with them being used, and I think my aunt will like them, but I think I would modify the pattern slightly. There is enough yarn on each, enough stitches on each finger, I think, actually, having tried these on quite a few times. So yeah, I do think my aunt will like them, but what I did notice about these is that my fingers are twisted. I'm not sure if you can see that. All of the, each finger is kind of overlapping. I'm not sure if that's intentional, but I like my fingers to kind of sit flat. So I thought that was a bit odd. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like that. So I'm kind of thinking I want to try out another pattern that's got fingerless gloves and see if they're any better. See if it comes out better than that, because they don't sit flat. And also, or try maybe a normal glove pattern and then just not do the whole finger, just do it part way and see how I get on with that. But I guess for my first time doing fingerless gloves, and it is my first time ever doing fingerless gloves, I think I did okay with these, and I do think that my aunt will enjoy wearing them. So yeah, that's my second finished even object. On to, what do I have next? Another brioche hat. So guys, I'm quite a determined person, as I mentioned before, and because I didn't get the decreases spot on in my last brioche hat attempt, which was the Harlow hat, I decided to give it another go. And what inspired me to have another go was I had cast on this sock. I think I might have shown this in the last video, and I tried it on my sock blockers and it's so tight. And the yarn was nice. I like the colour combination that I used, but look at this. I mean, goodness me, I couldn't, this is not going to fit my foot, so this would, I don't know, it's so tight. It is so taut. Look at that. So I was really disappointed with the way this worked out, and I started to knit the cuff on the next one, and then I thought, you know what, I don't even like it, so let me rip it out and do something that I will enjoy knitting. So I decided to do a brioche hat. So this is the Harlow pattern. Again, I've shown you this before. This is my third attempt. Now this yarn is double knit, so the weight is different to as stated in the pattern. So I used a different stitch count for the double knit. I think it was 80 stitches, just because it's quite big. And what I've done is I used, as per the pattern, a smaller needle size for about 1 inch of the rim, and then the bigger needle size for the rest of the hat. And I've used the grey as my main colour, which is the outside, and the pink as the inside. So I'm really pleased how this turned out. I've stuck my little label on there. This time round I didn't make any mistakes on the bottom bit. Everything came out just to my mind perfectly. The decreases, oh my gosh, I sat down and I painstakingly did the decreases, and I think I may have had to rip it out once and then try it again. I put in my lifeline just so I wouldn't make any mistakes. I watched a couple of videos on how to rectify mistakes, because I did make mistakes on this, and I did have to go back and correct those mistakes. And I have got notes on my Ravelry project page for this, so do check that out if you're interested. If you need any help with the Harlow hat, my notes on there are hopefully will help you, because I've put links to videos that I watched to help me to correct mistakes I've made, and to remember how to do the decreases, that kind of thing. I've put quite high, I think, quite detailed notes on there so that I know how to do it again next time, because I was just so pleased with how it turned out. So that's the outside, and this is the inside, and look, it's spot on. It's got the cross like it's supposed to have. I was so pleased with this, so pleased, and I feel like this is going to make a great gift for the person that I knitted it for, and I really do hope that she likes it, because I don't think pink is really going to suit a boy. Well, not the boys in my life that I know. They don't like bright colours like this, so they wouldn't wear this. So yeah, I just hope that the person that I made this for will love it as much as I enjoyed making it. And yeah, I'm really pleased. I finally got it right, and I'm so pleased. I have other yarns that I'm looking at thinking, yes, I might like to do a brioche, the Harlow hat again for those, but I'm trying not to get too obsessed with the Harlow hat, because now that I know how to do it, now that I've done it and I'm pleased with the way it's turned out, I'm good to go. So the yarn I used for the pink is James C. Brett Top Value Double Knitting yarn in the colour, well, it's 8453, which is basically this bright neon pink. And then the main colour on the outside, which is this yarn, I've used King Cole's Splash Double Knitting yarn in the colour Charcoal, which was gifted to me by Emma from Em's Crafts and Chat. Thank you, Emma. So yeah, that is that, and that is my little label that I bought on Etsy, in case you guys are interested. So yes, so that's my next finished object. I think that's the only hat I've done this time around. Next up are some socks. I made some socks for my husband. I had this yarn, which was bought from the All About Yarns website, well, not website, shop on Etsy, and it is a beautiful black, green and yellow yarn, and these are the colours in the Jamaica flag, and so I felt that my husband would love these. And So yeah, so I've decided to do some vanilla socks for my hubby, just off the top of my head. And let me just put them on the blockers so I can show you. He has quite big feet, so I used a 72 stitch sock. It's a 72 stitch count sock for him because his feet are quite big and broad, and this is what they came out like. So this is the Owl About yarn yarn. It's a 72/25 superwash merino / nylon base, and the colourway is Day at the Races. And I really love the way the heel came out on these. I'm dead chuffed with that because the I thought the heel was going to do what it normally does and pull in a really odd way, but it came out really nicely, both socks. And then they seem to be quite matchy. I didn't think that the colours were going to match because of the way that they were knit, but look at that. I think it was quite a good match. I'm really pleased with the way they turned out. He really likes them. He's worn them once already, which is why they're looking a little bit fuzzy around the toe. The toe is an ordinary wedge toe. The heel is a flap and gusset heel, and it's the cuff is a 2x2 rib. So I didn't do any pattern on this because I felt after doing the Sundown Soon socks, realising that the stripes would just take away any emphasis on the pattern, so I just decided to do these in vanilla. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how they turned out. It took a while to do them because they're quite big, but he likes them, he's worn them, he says they're comfy, and I am pleased. I'm dead chuffed with those. So those are the last pair of socks that I've done. I will have some more, I guess, that I'm going to start working on. Well, actually, you know, I've got a couple. What have I got them working on? I'll show you in my whips section. Anyway, so those are my finished socks. I also have finished up this jumper, in case you guys hadn't noticed. This is my Happiness Is jumper by Alicia Plummer. I've done this once previously, and on that version it was for my cousin, and it was a slightly bigger version, and she had the sleeves were the correct length for her, and she didn't, for that one I didn't do the tubular cast on. Now, as I mentioned in my last video, for this jumper I did the tubular cast on, which I don't like, so I won't be doing that again, not for this, not if I decide to do this jumper again. Or maybe I will use a different tutorial for the tubular cast on, because it just didn't, I did something wrong and I just don't know what it is. Anyway, let me just kind of get up on my knees so I can show you what this looks like. So this is the jumper, and I've done, the pattern is a shorter sleeve, so it's around about here. I decided to lengthen the sleeves because I prefer a longer length sleeve, and I've lengthened the body so that it comes to just around my bottom, because I didn't want it up here. I wanted it, you know, I like my things to sit comfortably around here, so I've done that. What else did I modify? I think that's it. I inadvertently managed to modify the sleeves. I was knitting along and I knit the cuff in a smaller needle, and I forgot to change out to a larger needle for the cuff, and so I carried on in the smaller needle on one sleeve up to about here, and then I realised that, oops, I haven't changed to my larger needle, so I changed to the larger needle and continued on with the sleeve, and I can see and feel the difference between the two. I know it's this one that had the smaller needle basically, and this one I did it as it was in the pattern, so I can feel the difference, but I don't think anyone else is really going to see the difference unless they're, you know, really close up and paying particular attention to what I've done on my sleeves. So it's quite a snug fitting jumper, as you can see from the arms. There's no like extra, what do you call it? I've forgotten what you call it now. There's no extra fabric, I can't remember what you call it, floating around here, so it's a snug fit. It's not a loose fitted garment. As you can see from the body, it's properly fitted. I didn't do the shaped version. You can do the body shaping, but I just did the straight version because I prefer that. I prefer not to accentuate my lumps and bumps. So yeah, that is what I've done. The only thing I'm not pleased on with this is the tubular cast on, mainly. You can see here I've got a thread loose. I had actually tucked this in. I had actually done my weaving in of the ends, and where I've put it on, it's pulled it out from where it was woven in, and it seems to want to travel back along. So as I mentioned in my previous video, if you do that, it gathers, and I'm not sure that that is how the tubular cast on was meant to be. I would have thought not, but somehow I've done something wrong and it does that, and I don't like it. I'm not sure how to rectify that and if I will bother. It sits okay when I leave it. It sits okay. It's just that I've got this, because it's just come loose. I can tuck it in again and do it a bit looser, but I don't like that bit. I don't like the way the tubular cast on worked for this jumper. So if I do decide to make this jumper again, I won't be using a tubular cast on, because I somehow managed to mess up on that. I didn't use a tubular cast on the first jumper I did, and that one was fine. So yeah, I don't see why it was really necessary to do a tubular cast on for this. Anyway, so that was that. The sleeves are a little bit tight around here, and as a result of that I haven't got a top underneath, not a sleeved top. I'm wearing a camisole top underneath, because I felt with the sleeve it would make it feel even tighter. However, I haven't blocked it, so if I did block the jumper, perhaps that would stretch out a little bit more and it wouldn't be as fitted. But I can move. It's not uncomfortably tight or anything like that. It's just initially when I put it on, it feels a little bit tighter in the sleeves than it could be, and I think that's probably just due to my seaming. I needed to have done it a little bit looser probably. Other than that, I am happy with the jumper and I'm going to wear it. The pattern's quite easy, works up really quickly. People have said stuff about the dot placement and made lots of modifications because of the way the dots are dealt with within the pattern. So if you do decide to purchase this pattern, then do make sure you read some of the comments in other people's notes before you embark on the project. I found it really easy. I stuck to the pattern as it was, didn't have a problem with that. It was the dot placement. People have said that the dot placement is, I'm not sure if you can see it, some of the dots are cut in half and stuff, so it was a little bit odd the way the pattern was written. But some people did the dots on the front and left it off the back. I decided to just do it as per the pattern because I like the pattern as it is, and it's easy. It's easy enough for me to follow, and I didn't have a problem. Once you know how the dots are laid out and how to do them, you can just remember it. It's quite an easy to remember pattern for me anyway. If you have difficulty keeping a pattern while doing decreases and things like that, then you might find it a little bit more of a struggle. But I found it easy enough to do, and if I had done this straight, like in a couple of sessions, you know, without stopping, I think I could have whipped this up in less than a week, because it was that quick and easy to do. The one thing that did annoy me was when I was doing the sleeves, I couldn't do them on my 16-inch circulars because it was just not enough stitches on the needle for that. It wasn't, you know, the sleeve is quite small, so that I had to do magic loop for that, which took me a little bit longer rather than just knitting in the round. And also it's got an I-cord neck, which I really like the way it looks. It looks nice and neat. I just quickly looked up on YouTube how to do the I-cord edging, I-cord cast off. Job done. Very easy, and I like it. I'm thinking I should do this on other things because it was really that easy. Much easier and quite comfortable actually, but it looks quite nice. I like the way it looks. So yeah, that is that. I'm really pleased with this jumper. As I said, it's the Happiness Is jumper by Alicia Plummer, which is available on Ravelry. So on to my next finished object, and it's my last finished object. I have done these mittens. These are fingerless mittens. I have some yarn floating around, finger ring weight yarn floating around that I have, like little leftovers from sock projects or hats, and I thought I want to just use them up. I don't like them sitting there. I don't want to do a blanket out of them. I want to use up the sock yarn I have left over, and I thought, let me try some fingerless mittens. And this is how they turned out. Let me just pull those sleeves out of the way, and I'm really pleased. I've got a watch under here, so that's why it's kind of bulking up. So this is my own design, basically. I've looked at other, well, I kind of based it off of the way this worked, but not entirely, if you know what I mean. I've done my own stitch count and made my own kind of pattern, basically. It's my own design. These are vanilla fingerless mittens. I'm sure that if you really tried, you could just, if you're an advanced knitter, or you know, even a beginner knitter, you could come up with a way to do these off the top of your head. But I am trying to make it to my own recipe. That's the word. This is my own recipe for my vanilla fingerless mittens. I'm calling these my topless mittens because they have no top. They're mittens but without a top. Anyway, so I have used, which yarn did I use? The green is my Berger yarn, Berger de France Calinou, in the colour Cobalt, which is this lovely green colour. That's my new label. And this colourway here, the purpley colourway, is Regia Design Line by CAF Facet for dig, whatever that means, and the colourway is Myth. So that's what I've used here. I ran out of this yarn at this point, at the black or brown. It's brown actually, and so I just continued in the green that I used for the cuff, and it looks fine to me. They're matching. They're not like twins, but they are siblings. So yeah, so that's what I did. I did the thumb here, I don't even know what to say about these. I like the way they fit. The only thing I would do differently is lengthen this section. I would like them to be up to the knuckles. But as I said, I ran out of this colour yarn and I didn't want to make this section too long in the green. So I just stopped when the rib was 1 inch long and after I ran out of the purple. And that is what they look like. I'm working on another pair which I hope will use up some more leftover yarn. I do like these. Not quite sure who I'm giving these to, but I didn't really want to keep these for myself. I think I will give these as a gift to someone else because I would prefer to have a bit more length in the hand section. I am working on noting down the recipe for these. They're just vanilla mittens, so if I do do a recipe for these, I will make it available on Ravelry. I'm pretty sure they're pretty easy to do. I think you could find these mittens anywhere because they're just vanilla mittens. But if you guys are interested in knowing the pattern or schematic or recipe for these fingerless mittens, or topless mittens as I'm calling them, let me know, and you can have that. I'm just trying to perfect the numbers really, so I get the right fit for what I want, because this is kind of like a work in progress. It's okay, I like them, but I think I can improve on the recipe. So yeah, so that is those. So I'm really pleased with those. Those are my fingerless, my topless mittens. And I have put some of the information in Ravelry for those if you're interested in making them. But I haven't finished kind of fine-tuning that because I have made, or I will be making, some adjustments on the next one that I do. So, talking about the next one that I do, let's move on to works in progress. So as I mentioned, I am working on another topless mitten, and this time, because I finished up the socks in the Day at the Races colourway, I thought I would try and use up the yarn that I had left over and put them into mittens. And I am at this stage. I'm working them simultaneously so that I get the colourways, the right amount of each colour in each glove before I move on to the contrast colour. And so that is where I am at the moment, and I think I've started at the wrong end because my colours are slightly different. I don't know if you can see that. Let me put that down. So I start with the yellow here, but on this one I started with the green. But it doesn't matter. I don't think it's really going to matter as long as they're warm and someone gets to have them. Not quite sure who they're for. I just want to use up some leftover yarn, and rather than make it a hat, I thought I would just make the fingerless mittens for these and then see how I get on. And also it gives me a chance to kind of perfect the recipe to my liking. So that is my first whip that I am working on. Let me check out my Ravelry page and go back to whips. Oops, recent whips. Okay, so that's the mittens. I don't have very many whips actually. I've got, why is that not changing? I have one whip that I am working on that I can't really share with you because it's not finalized yet. It's a design, and I'm using I'm designing my own socks, as I mentioned before, and I'm using the Biff Sugar Yarns Superwash Merino / nylon yarn in the colourway Introvert, and I can show you what it's. I don't really want to show you the pattern until I've fine-tuned it. So that is what the yarn is looking like knitted up, and I really love that. And I'm trying to make a pair of socks. I'm trying to finalize the design for these socks before I share, because there's things I might want to change on these, and I've only not even completed one sock yet. I haven't even completed the first one yet because I've just been, my mind's been wandering. So that's my second whip. I'm sorry I can't tell you much more than that, but I want to get it down. I want to finalize at least one sock before I try to share with you a pattern, so that it's a pattern that is actually a pattern and not one that is like a oh, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that in kind of pattern, or I want to change that kind of pattern. Because it's my first one, I want to get it right before I share it. So that's that. So those are my two whips. I have one more, which is my little Isla cardigan that I'm making for my daughter. Did I show you a picture? Let me see. This is the pattern. Little Isla by Jessica McDonald, and this is for a little, that's a little child. I'm making it in a 12-year-old size, so it's going to be quite a bit bigger than that. The yarn I'm using is my Garn Studio yarn. Why do I say Garn Studio? It's not. It's, oh, it says on the Ravelry Garn Studio. It's Drops Merino yarn. Maybe they've called it Garn Studio somehow. Anyway, it's Drops Merino extra fine unicolor yarn, 100% wool, and this is the colourway. What is it? Light greyish green. It's described as, and that's it there. And this is how far I have got with it. It has this lovely pattern at the top. So that's the back. It's knit in the round, which is lovely. Makes it a lot easier. And this is the pattern at the top. It's got a lovely kind of lace detail pattern here that took me a couple of tries to figure it out. I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. I started and I stopped before I started on the pattern because I thought I don't want to mess up and I want to do it in one sitting. And then I started doing the lace section. I thought I was doing okay, and then when I counted my stitches I realised that I was off count, so I had too many stitches, so I had to keep frogging it, and I did it a couple of times and I kept ending up with too many stitches. And what I discovered was that I was putting in yarn overs where they weren't supposed to be. I'd read the instruction wrong, so I think what happened, it said, where the pattern said yarn over and then in brackets SSK, and then it said after the brackets ×2, I was doing yarn over SSK twice rather than doing just the SSK twice. So for those of you that are like me, please remember, when you're dealing with yarn overs, lace work in your patterns, read the pattern very carefully beforehand, because it makes all the difference. And You don't want to have to go and undo things because you got the wrong stitch count and your pattern's off key or whatever. So I realised that after I put it down and came back to it, that I'd put in a yarn over where there wasn't one. And yeah, and now I've come back and I've done it again, and I am pleased with it. It is looking as it does in the picture, so I'm pleased with that. Then I did quite a lot of work on this. I separated for the sleeves, I've done part of the body. It's still got a way to go. I've tried it on my daughter, and the armholes fit nicely. It fits nicely for her, even though it's a 12-year-old size and she's only 11. It is actually coming up quite a nice fit for her. So I figured, good, I will just continue, and I think I've just got to work on, a lot of it's just stocking stitch now, till the bottom. Yeah, when you get to the bottom, yeah, it's stocking stitch, and then until right down until the rib, by the look of that. So it's just plain sailing from there on, and then I do the sleeves. So it's quite an easy knit, I think. The most complicated bit about this is the pattern at the top, and even that's not complicated. You just have to read the pattern and digest it before you start working on it, and that's my biggest mistake. I try to whiz through it, and yeah, and that's where I make mistakes. So I need to note to self, read carefully, then start the work. Don't just rush in, which is my problem. But yeah, I've done quite a bit. There's probably maybe another that amount to do before I start thinking about doing the rib for the bottom. I've got a lot of wool left over, and well, not left over, but left. So yeah, that one's on its way. So I'm pleased with that. So that's going to be the one that I focus on, because I was doing this one alongside my jumper, alongside socks for my commute into work. And now that this one's finished, and some of my socks are finished, and some of my gloves are finished, and my hat's finished, and you know, I've got quite a few things off the needle, I can actually concentrate more on her cardigan and yeah, and my mittens and my new sock design. So I think I'm going to try and slow down a bit. With Christmas on the way, I want to do smaller projects. So I'm thinking I might just do like hats, gloves and socks, and stick to those for the time being. I don't have enough, actually no, I have a sweater quantity of yarn. I wanted to do a cardigan, didn't I might start that, not sure. I might try and start that soon. And I want to do a shawl. There's so many things I want to do. I just don't have enough time in the day to do them. And I want to get some stuff knitted up for Christmas. Anyway, I'm rambling now. So let me just share with you. I have not a lot of incoming stuff, but I do have some. And I do want to share those with you. So let's move on to incoming. So for incoming, I was sent by Em at Em's Crafts and Chat after mentioning dishcloth yarn. I think we were talking about dishcloth yarn at some point, and she very kindly sent me some of her dishcloth yarn. This is a Switchcraft dishcloth cotton, and that is what that looks like. It's a lovely cream colour. So I was hoping to knit up a dishcloth, or I would use it as a bathroom kind of scrubby for myself. I'm hoping to knit one of those up at some point, but I want to finish some other projects. So this is kind of just sitting in my stash for the time being, as well as this one, which is a Drops Love You yarn, Unicolour. Not sure what colour it is, but it's a beautiful blue, which is my favourite colour. So yeah, this is cotton, and yeah, I will be making something with this at some point. I'm guessing it's going to be another one of those cloths, or I don't know. I think that was the plan originally when she sent me this stuff. It's because I was talking about dishcloths. So yeah, so that's those. I've also picked up very recently, and I did post a video on Instagram, this beautiful purple yarn. It's by Jelly Beans Yarns, and it's called Summer Berries. Now, I bought this with the intention of making something purple for a little boy that I know, and I started to look at it, and I absolutely love the colour, but I'm thinking it looks a bit on the pinkish side. I'm not sure that an 11-year-old boy will appreciate that this is actually purple. So I'm going to see. I think I'll have to do a swatch and see how it knits up, and then decide whether or not I want to make something for this boy out of this yarn, because I'm thinking it looks a little bit, he might think it's a little bit girly. You know what kids are like at that age. They don't like anything, boys don't tend to like anything, you know, that's gonna, they're very particular. They're very particular about what they like. So I'm not sure. But this is a hand-dyed sock yarn in 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 465 yards worth of yarn here. And it's a summer berries colourway. First time I bought anything from Jelly Beans Yarns, and I love the colour. It is such a, what's the word? Pigmented, vibrant. Oh, it's beautiful. It looks, the camera is not doing it justice. I absolutely love the way this looks. I can imagine this in socks, and even some gloves. I don't know. I'm excited to get going on this one, but I want to try and use up some of the stuff that I've got already. Lastly, to show you incoming is these stitch markers. I saw these little stitch markers on Etsy, on an Etsy shop. I've got them all twisted. Oops. Let's see. Here we go. So this, I got these from Scarlet Stitchcraft on Etsy, and they have like a little wire top here. They're not, I was thinking for when I'm doing like a bigger project like this jumper, I like to have something thin enough that doesn't make the stitches look, the gap between stitches big. Sometimes when I've got a stitch marker in there, it kind of makes, when you jumping over the stitch marker, it makes the gap between the stitches feel a lot bigger and a little bit too stretched out. And I thought I'd try the wire. Can you see those? I thought I would try these wire stitch markers. There you go. And see how they get on. Haven't tried them yet because I wanted to just keep them together with the little board so I could show you guys that I got these, and I really love the look of them. They're so pretty. So hopefully these will do the job for me. I think that's all the incoming stuff I have bought. I always forget to mention what I have my projects in, the little bags that I have my projects in. I have a bag on order that hasn't arrived yet, but let's see. For my socky socks, not socks. Why am I calling them socks? These are my wrist warmers, my topless mittens. For my Day at the Races topless mittens, I have them in my woolly quince and pie bag. And for my mystery design project, I have that in my plum and pearl and plum bag. I really like this one. I like the way it pulls together like that. I have found a few new people to watch their podcasts on YouTube, and I'm really enjoying their content, and I will try and remember to put their names in the description box below the video. One of which is Awesome Blossom Knits. I'm really enjoying her podcast, and Rebecca B Makes. Let me just see if I can find them in my history again, just so I can tell. Yeah, Gemma B Makes, and I'm enjoying watching Awesome Blossom Knits. And who's the other one now? Oh my goodness, I've forgotten her name. Lisa Saxton. I've forgotten. Woolly Ferret podcast. I've been enjoying their podcasts recently, and I'm trying to catch up on some of their videos. So I will leave their names. Well, I'll try and put their names up on screen so you know who to follow. They don't have a whole heap of followers like me. They're very new podcasters. So please do check out their channel and subscribe if you like them as well. I think I'm going to leave it there, guys, because I think this video is long enough. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any suggestions about the tubular cast on, what I did wrong, if you can help me to figure out what it was I did wrong so I don't do that next time, please leave them in the comment section below, or send me a personal message on Ravelry if you don't want it to be a public message, because I'd really like to know what it was I did so wrong with that cast on. It's just bugging me. But yeah, that is it from me. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have enjoyed this video, then please do click on the thumbs up, the like button, leave me some comments in the comment section below, or if you're over on Ravelry, then do put those in the group, on my Ravelry group. I forgot to mention I've got an Ellinesscrafts Ravelry group. Do go over and check it out. I've got a works in progress discussion up. I've got finished objects discussion up. I do hope to do some knit alongs in that group as well. So please do come over and check out the Ravelry group that I have and join in the discussion. Introduce yourself, say hi, let me know that you've been watching. But yeah, that is it from me. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.